Alright everybody, we got some photos here that I took at the Red Bull Night Rider event here in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. It was actually postponed from Saturday night to Sunday morning, early afternoon. But what I wanted to do was go through, take one of these pictures and edit it, and then just show you my process and what I do. This one's kind of funny. Not really funny, definitely interesting. You can see it's crooked. We want to definitely straighten out that it's a little bit underexposed. The day was overcast, but it definitely wasn't this dark. So we're going to brighten it up. We're going to have some fun with it. We're going to change some settings. So let's go ahead and jump on into this image right here and we'll get started. First thing I like to do is just go ahead and get the crop oriented in the right direction. So what I do is I just look for this straight line and on this horizon line. Taking pictures at the beach is super easy because you always have that horizon line in the background. Next thing I want to look at is this tone curve. Alright, so this empty space that we see right here to the right, we kind of want to take that up. That's lost light. We can recover that. So what we're going to do is just grab this dot right here and we're going to slide it over, and you see it just brightens up our image nicely, real quick, right off the bat. We don't have to change our exposure or anything. We just set that, and that kind of changes it up here. We can move this white slider to get a similar effect. So let me just reset this if I can. And then I'm going to move the white slider, and it's going to change this curve and shift it over. So we can achieve the similar effect by moving that. But when we move the tone curve, we preserve our ability to now still move our white. And we could blow it out, which we don't want to do, but I think it's just a little bit better to use your tonal curve in that sense. So then what we're going to do is I'm going to play with the dehaze a little bit just to see what that looks like. So I'll click it, and then I'm just going to use my keys. Now it darkens it up, but it makes it a bit bolder. Now you can see his hand changing to a different hue, so we want to be mindful of that. The reds are kind of popping a lot now. We can fix that by going into our saturation and then just dropping that a little bit. Or we can go and click here, go to the image, click and then drag up and down, and it will change the hue saturation. That looks okay. So from here, we're going to boost the shadows because I can see the darks are kind of dark still. So we're going to raise the shadows and just see what that does to our image. Not a whole lot. It kind of washes out our blacks. We don't really like that. Dropping our highlights. We gain some detail in the wave down here. I'm going to leave it around 75, minus 75. Now I'm going to go in and then I'm going to up my exposure because I still think it's too dark. So go ahead and bump that up a little bit. Now we can see the surfboard is starting to get overexposed. So we've gone a bit too far. We're going to click. And we're going to drag that back down a little bit. See, we can start to see the more detail of the surfboard here. So I like it right there. Our whites look good. Our blacks, alright, this black slider was going to help move our blacks. So if we move it to the left, it's going to darken our blacks to make them darker. Or we bring it to the right, it's going to brighten up the blacker parts of the image. I always like to decrease it a little bit, gives it a better contrast. You can see the surfboard fins stick out nicely against the white surfboard. The surfer himself nicely contrasted against the sea behind him. So I think that looks good. I'm going to slide down here. My lens for this is a Sigma 100 or 150 to 600. I've enabled the lens profile corrections already, but if that didn't look like it, it actually brightens up the image a little bit and then pokes it out. So I think on this lens, I don't use it all the time, but on this lens especially, for some reason, it really helps out in the final result. So I'm going to enable that. This chromatic aberration, I don't really ever see a change, and I'm one to not really mess with things if it doesn't really stick out to me, so I'm not going to mess with it. Now my saturation sliders, I've decreased my red and oranges when I went and slid on his hand. So for surf photography, what I also like to do is I like to decrease the yellows a little bit. I want to pump up the greens, the aquas, and the blues just right away. And I'm going to drop my purples and my magentas because they normally aren't there. They might be present in clothing or on a surfboard, so you got to be mindful of that. But when you're at the beach, those colors aren't really there. And you can see just by doing that, I've, right here, I brought the sky in a little bit, and then the water right here, it's lost some of that yellow hue, but still remains a nice kind of desaturated color. We actually want to bring up the saturation a little bit. Alright, and then I think I still want to bring it down on the red just a little bit more. So we're at minus 14. Let's take it to minus like 23 maybe. I'm not really liking that. I'll go back up. I'm looking at his hands. His hands I don't think were that red. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the original image by pressing the button underneath backspace, the forward slash. I guess it's forward slash. His hands pretty much stay the same color. But just for fun, I'm going to click hue, click this, go on the hand, and then just kind of move it up a little bit. And then now I think that's a bit better. I'm liking what this image looks like. I could go in and crop it, but right now we got a slight crop because of the rotation correction. And I think that's actually pretty good. We got a sense of motion, we got the splash. I am going to go up here. I'm going to boost my contrast because I always do. I'm not sure if it's my camera settings or just my camera or my eye, but a little bit of contrast always helps these images that I take in my mind. And you see it darkens it up a little bit, so I might want to go in and fix the shadows. Maybe pump those up a little bit. And then let's just see what a bump of exposure would do. I like that, so we'll do that. We're also going to increase the clarity. And then you see now our highlights in our water here kind of poke out through. So we're going to decrease the highlight a little bit, maybe a little bit on the white side. The texture, when we zoom in here, texture looks pretty good. This is a nice image. Again, I'm shooting at 600 at 6.3 pretty quickly, 1/1250 at ISO 160, so freezes all the motion. That's why all these drops look pretty good. His hand tips, no blur, they look pretty nice. So that speed helped me out even with that little tighter aperture. So I think this image looks pretty good at this point. I would probably call it right here. My white balance I didn't touch. It looked pretty good. If you want, you can maybe check the surfboard. And you see it's got like a blue tint to it. Looks kind of tealish compared to, if I just undo it, what it had before. I could go in here, click my slider, and then see what I like. But I mean, too blue, too red or amber. So kind of liked it wherever it was shot, but we're gonna leave it there. So yeah, this image is done. We'll do a quick before, and then after. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. All right, thanks for tuning in. I might do more of these depending on how I feel about it, but this was just the first go. So we'll see. The audio, I'm sure, is garbage, but I wanted to get something done. So if I continue to do this, definitely will invest in a microphone to help with that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Tune in next time. Thank you.